Namaste. I am Pankaja, working as Associate Professor in Cambridge Institute of Technology, Bengaluru. In this session, I'll be discussing list data structure in Python. So today we will be discussing what is lists, basic operations and its operators, traversing the list, how to delete elements in the list, and a few list methods and functions. So I'm just sharing even ideally. Yeah. So like strings, list is a sequence of values. In strings, values are characters, whereas in lists, values can be any type. So let us take one simple example where I'll be storing x is equal to some value, say 10. Okay, now if I try to print x, we know that 10 is stored in variable x. Now, again, if I try to store some value, say 20. So what happens? The previous value is overwritten and now the value of x is 20. Again, if I try to do this, it keeps on, overwriting it. So it is somewhere we need to store such values. So how to store these values? So it is possible to store these values using lists data structures in Python. So now let us explore how to create a list in Python. So now let me say L is equal to, there are many ways to create a list. I'll be showing you two ways of creating a empty list. LIST. Here this type is a list constructor. Now when I say L is equal to, this is one way of, if I try to print, it shows it is empty list. So always list is enclosed with square bracket. If nothing is stored, that means it is empty, which is, as you are seeing here, it is empty list. Now the other way of creating list is, I can just say, even this also can be created. So the two ways of creating empty list is, one is this, where I'm going to use list constructor. The other one is just open and close the square bracket. So these are the two ways of creating the empty list. Now, how do we create a list using, now all these 10, 20, 30, all were overwritten, right? Now I'll be storing all those in a list, say 10, 20, and 30. Now, when I try to print it here, I'm getting list of numbers. Similarly, we can also store list of floating point numbers like this. Similarly, I can store strings, list of strings. So I can say cat, always strings, we know it should be enclosed with a single quote or double quote. Right. Likewise, list also can be list of lists, in the sense I can have list within the list. where I can store 1, comma 2, comma, and again I can have 4, comma 5. If you see here, this is list of list. That is, we call this as nested list. Or I can have mix of all. It need not be any one. It could be either numbers, floating point numbers, strings, character, or list of lists. That is nested list. So everything I can have in one list. I can have numbers, I can have floating point numbers, I can have a string, I can have character. Now I can have also one more list within this. So now we have seen here the lists are, it can be list of numbers, it can be a list of decimal numbers, it can be list of strings, it can be list of list, and it can have mix of all this. So we can say list is nothing but a collection of items. So list is a data structure for storing and accessing data objects which is stored in a specific sequence. So here, now as we saw in strings, strings are immutable. What do you mean by immutable? You cannot change the content of the string. Say for example, if I say str1 is equal to apple. Okay. Now, how do I extract a list? How do I extract a string? With this subscript, we know 0 is str1 of 0 or 1. 0 means it is A. str of 1, we have P. So likewise 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the length here is 4, and how to extract the elements from the string is through its subscript. Now if I try to change, I want to change from P to or A, the first element, str1. Sorry. Now str1, I want to just, I'll try to change it to, I want to replace it with some other alphabet, say D. What happens? See, it says that str object does not support item assignment. That means it cannot be changed. So we already know string is immutable, but lists are mutable unlike strings. So now let us take this, any one of these example. I'll take this example, L. L is already the list we know. So let us try to, what do we have in list? L, 1, 2, 3. Now I'll try to change L of 1. L of 1. We'll try to change it to some other value, say. Now try to see what is yes. We have changed L of 1 equal to 12, and here you can see the changes that is reflected in the list. That means list can be changed. That's why we call lists are mutable. Now, there is also a operator called in operator, which is used to check whether the element is present in the list or not. So how do we do that? So I'll just say, I'll take the example of the above list. I'll try to say 2.3 in L. what it should give? It should give true. Similarly, now I'll try to give 11 in L. It gives false. So this in operator is used to check whether the element or the item is present in the list or not. Similar way, we now need to traverse. Now we can traverse the list. How do we traverse the list? The very efficient way of traversing the list is using for loop. Now let us see how this for loop can be implemented here. For I in L. Sorry. I'll just reduce. We'll try to reduce the window. Yeah. Now for I in L, print I. Yeah. Here what we're trying to do, we are reading the element of the list one by one. Now we need to know how long is the list. So we have a function called len to know the length of the list. Now we want to know the length of the list L. So the length of the list L is 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we do have 6 items in the list L. So now what we are supposed to do is, suppose if we want to update each element in the list, we need indices. So a common way to do this is we use range and len function in for loop. So let us see how we can do this. For I in range of len of L, and we'll try to, okay, we cannot use L because there is a mix of elements in the list. So we will take the element ln. So ln is a number. If we see, I think ln should be the, yeah, ln or L. So ln is a floating point number. Or we will create one more list before this, a simple one I'll try to create. L is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we will see L. For I in L, sorry, for I in range of len of L. Now we will try to update each and every element in the list. I equal to L of I into, say, 2. Now, if you see here, each element in the list elements are 1, 2, 3, 4. Now what we are trying to do is we are trying to update each and every element in the list by multiplying it by 2. So now we will say L. So if you are seeing this, the list, each and every element of the list is being updated. That is 2, 4, 6, and 8. So here what is happening is len returns the number of the elements in the list. So range returns list of indices from 0 to L minus 1. Here what is L? L is 4. So 4 minus 1 is 3. So always the subscript will start from 0, actually 0, 1, 2, and 3. So this is how it is going to traverse using, if we want to update the list elements, all the list elements. Now we will see list operations. So Python has the operator called plus and the operator called star. Now we'll see here what is plus and what is star here. Say for example, let us create I'll create one more 1, 2, 3 list and b equal to 4, 5, 6. Now if I say a plus b, here plus normally we see it adds, but in Python, that too with lists, this is not going to add, but it is going to concatenate the list. That means a plus b, the moment we say a plus b, it is going to concatenate and show the result with combining both a and b. So now if you try to see a and if you see b, both are remaining same. Suppose if you want to update, say for example, if I say a is equal to a plus b. Now if you try to see, a would have been updated and b would have been as it is. Now if you see a would be having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and b remains unchanged. So because we have not updated it. So here this is the concatenation. So plus operator in lists will be treated as concatenation, and we have seen with this an example. Now what is the role of star here? Say for example, now I'm going to say L. So star here I'll just say 1, 2. I'll say star 2. Now if you see here, what is happening here is star repeats lists given number of times. What is a given number of times here? 2. So 1, 2 list is been repeated twice. So star operator repeats the list of how many times we are giving. So many times it is going to repeat. Now next comes the slice operator, how it is going to work on lists. So now let us take the example, the same example as A. So A is already, we have a list with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, how we are going to do slicing is, when I say A and within square bracket, we need to give lower limit and first parameter is the lower limit and second parameter is the upper limit. We can give anything within this range of A. First of all, let us see what is the length of A. Length of A, it is 6. So when I want to slice, suppose you want to slice from say 2 to 4. So what we can do is A is the list, and we can say 1 colon, and if you say 4, so what is its 1 is the lower limit and 4 is the upper limit. So we should get the output starting from 0 1, that is 2 to 0 1 2 3 4. That means 4 means less than 4 will be displayed. If it is less than 4, then we have to get 2 3 and 4. So that is 2 3 and 4. So slicing concept in list is extracting few elements of your items from the list. Similarly, we can also say A, the other way of if I don't give the starting lower limit and only the upper limit is given. So what happens? It will print right from 0th subscript, that is 0th element. 1 2 3 4 is printed. Suppose if we do not give the first, that is lower limit, suppose we don't give the upper limit, say will be given only 3 and colon, and we have not given the upper limit. So from 3, that is 0, this is 0, A of 0, A of 1, A of 2 and A of 3, that is 4 5 6 has to be printed. So 4 5 6. Suppose if we do not give anything, either lower limit or upper limit, just a colon, then everything will be printed. So all the elements in the list will be displayed. Now we can also update multiple elements using slicing concept. Say for example, we need to say, I'll be saying 2 to 4. Now this has to be updated. Say for example, that is from 2 to 4. That means 2 and 3. A of 2 and A of 3 will be updated with some element, say 23. So now let us see whether it has been updated. Yes. So 0, 1, 2. So A of 2 and A of 3 is being updated with 12 and 23. So here we should very carefully see the upper limit. Whenever we give the upper limit, it is less than that element, less than that number. Say 4 means it is less than 4. So that's why it is only 2 elements will be updated. So this is the concept of slicing in a list. We can explore still more for slicing concept. It's very important in list. Now let us see few list methods. So append, extend and sort are the list methods. There are many list methods. Here today we will be discussing append, extend and sort. So when we already have A and L as a list. So let us apply append method to list. Now if I say L dot, if you see here, we can see n number of functions: append, clear, copy, count. There are so many methods supported in the list. We can explore that later. So for time being, we will see how append works. So append. Now we need to append, say for example, want to append D. Since list can be, it need not be only numbers, it can be mix of all. Here I have given D. So let us see what append does. Append adds new element at the end of the list. So if you try to see in the list, if you see, it is added at the end. No, append adds its argument as a single element. So here if you see, at a time we can add single element in the list, and the list will be increased by 1 by its length. So if you see extend, so now extend happens to be L dot extend. So we are going to extend A. We are going to extend A. Here what happens is L, if I try to give, what has happened? The parameter A, whatever we have passed, every element is being appended to the list L. That means extend takes list as an argument and appends all of the elements into the list. That is, now L has been updated. Now if you see A, the list A remains unchanged. A is not modified, whereas L is modified. So extend iterates over its argument. Here, what is the argument is being passed? A. A is the argument passed. In A, how many elements are there? We have seen there were 1, 2, 12, 23, 5, and 6. All these elements is being iterated and appended to the list L. So now the length here in extend, the length of the list increases by number of elements in its arguments. Whereas in append, what happens? Append adds its argument as a single element to the end of a list, and length increases by 1. So, but that is not the case with extend. So let us see one more example with list. Let me take now A. So A is unmodified. It's not modified, isn't it? So what we will do, I'll try to extend A dot extend. Now we will be giving CiTech. Now what happens? CiTech is the parameter. It is a string. Now we will see what is the changes it's going to happen. I have not passed any parameter, but I have passed the string itself. So how it is going to iterate, whether CiTech will be taken it as a whole or it is going to iterate character by character, we will see with the output. Now if you see A, so here what has happened, again the parameter what we have passed, that is CiTech, is being iterated character by character and it is being appended to the list. And here the list now is being extended to the number of characters. So earlier the length of the string, length of the list A was 6. Now again 6 more is being added. So now the length of A has become 12. Now, one more method in list that supports is sort. When I say A dot sort, sorry, because it is having a mix of characters as well as numbers, so it doesn't support. So we can take, say for example, I'll just take again one more list with 12, 4, 6, 14. Now we'll try to sort it. So now, yeah, it got sorted. That means the list is now being modified by sorting. Here when you say A, it is earlier it was 12, 4, 6, 14, but now when you, after applying sort method, now it has been changed to 4, 6, 12, 14. Now if you try to give like this, A dot sort. Now A, if you give, it doesn't give anything because sort does not return anything. It is none type. That's why we should not assign A dot sort to some other variable. So A directly we can say, now again we need to give A is equal to 3, 2, 1. And now you apply A sort. Now if you try to give, it is going to give you the elements, sorted elements. So for today, this is fine. So thank you.